Okay, so every now and again on this channel, I like to take my focus off of American politics and talk about things that are going on outside of the country that I've lived in for my entire life. This time, my focus is on the country of Portugal, the country that resides in Southern Europe. Why? Because Portugal recently passed a law that I think is quite monumental and is worth discussing. So this is an article from Euronews. The title of the article is the following: Portugal makes it illegal for your boss to text you after work in game changer remote work law. Let's get into this. Remote workers in Portugal could see a healthier work-life balance under new labor laws approved by the country's parliament. The new rules approved on Friday are a response to the explosion of home working as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Portugal's ruling Socialist Party said. Under the new rules, employers could face penalties for contacting workers outside of office hours. Companies will also have to help pay for expenses incurred by remote working, such as higher electricity and internet bills. But the amendments to Portugal's labor laws have limits. They do not apply to companies with fewer than 10 employees. What will change for remote workers? Companies can now face fines for contacting workers outside of their normal working hours, the new rules state. Employers are also forbidden from monitoring their employees while they work at home. However, a proposal to include the so-called right to disconnect, the legal right to switch off work-related messages and devices outside of office hours was rejected by the Portuguese MPs. Companies must also now contribute. Get this. They must now contribute to the expenses that workers have incurred as a result of switching to remote working. This can include bills for electricity or internet, but not water. Employers can write off these costs as a business expense. The new rules are also good news for parents of young children. They now have the right to work from home without having to arrange it in advance with their employers up until their child turns 8 years old. Measures to tackle loneliness are also included in the remote working rules. The companies expected to organize face-to-face meetings at least every 2 months. Wow. This is absolutely amazing. And of course, Portugal is the first European country to alter its remote working rules as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic in January this year. Let me break this down in layman terms, just in case you didn't quite reckon with what I just read. Portugal made a decision, and their decision was the following: if you are an employer, you may no longer contact your employees outside of their working hours. If you are an employer and you used to bother, because that's what it is in many cases, your employees when they're at home, when they're doing something outside of the workplace, you can't do that anymore. And if you are an employee, you no longer have to run the risk or worry about being messaged, contacted, emailed, text, called in any particular way outside of your work hours anymore. I thought this was absolutely amazing because where do we spend the vast majority of our lives? In the workplace. In the workplace. Specifically here in America, a lot of the times it's 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. For many people, it's much more than that. There's people that can work 70, 80 hours a week every single day of that week here in this country. That's something that's actually allowed. You spend the vast majority of your lifetime in the workplace, working for your employer. And when you leave They have the right to contact you, to ask you questions, to bother you, to pester you. Hey, can you come in on Thursday? Rachel called out. Hey, Friday we'll need extra people because inspectors are coming in to make sure everything's tidy and we need extra help. The truck comes in Saturday morning, so we're going to need you here an hour early. You get it. Portugal has said you can no longer do that. You want to know why? Because you spend so much time in the workplace. When workers go home, that time then belongs to them. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. That's their time to recoup. That's their time to regenerate. That's their time to refuel themselves, not only themselves, but their children, if they have them, spend time with their children, spend time with their family. They shouldn't be worried about being contacted by you, their boss, their employer, when they're not at work. That shouldn't even be something that crosses their mind. That's what this decision by Portugal entails, you know? And, when you spend all this time at work, you're using your brains and your muscles and your energy to produce a product or to take care of something or to do whatever your job is. And so when you leave, that time that you're not there, and it's a minority of your time because the vast majority of your time is spent at work, and not even counting the time that you have to spend preparing for work, the trip there, the trip back, however long it takes you to get to where you work. All of that is factored in. And so what they're saying is this time that you have off of the clock, quote unquote, it belongs to you. And they can't intrude. And if they do, you will be punished severely. I'm not sure what the extent of the punishment goes, but I, read a couple articles on this, and it said that, fines may be induced on the employer or your boss. Who knows how much money that'll end up being. And it also says for the remote workers, you have to pay for the expenses that they incur for working at home, such as internet, utilities, etc. I mean, this is absolutely amazing, I like to talk about these things because I feel like us Americans can learn a lot from these different countries around the world, especially the European countries, because they have a different sort of consciousness, a different sort of class consciousness than we do here in America. Here in America, we've been, the Cold War did a number on us. We've been heavily propagandized into thinking that certain things aren't possible. And, we have an educational system that doesn't tell us everything that we need to know. And a lot of Americans are just unaware that certain countries have gone far, far beyond the little things and policies that the politicians here brag about or try to enact that we yet don't have here that, as I said, many countries around the world have already far exceeded. And this is just another example, passing good legislation that will benefit regular people. I think it is absolutely amazing. And to be able to work at home, I believe it was up to the age that your child turns 8 if you have a child without getting approval from your employer. I mean, honestly, it's expanding worker freedoms. They can't be monitored when they're at home. This is pretty good stuff here, man. And also, a little bit on Portugal's government. If you aren't aware of the makeup of the Portuguese government, I'm going to tell you right now. Their government is a coalition government, and it consists of the 3 following parties. The Portuguese Socialist Party, the Portuguese Communist Party, and last and definitely not least, the Portuguese Green Party. That's what their government consists of. Of course, the socialists are the dominant ones out of the 3 I just named, but nevertheless, it's a coalition. That's unheard of here in America. Most Americans aren't even aware that, things like this exist outside of our home country. And it just speaks to the education and the consciousness and the learning that needs to be done. But this is absolutely astounding. And this party has been in power, or these parties, the American enemy came out. These parties have been in power for some time now. And they recently, last year, got reelected to even stronger majorities. So this is what the people in Portuguese want, obviously because they keep voting for it. And these are the types of policies that they receive as a result. Must be nice, I must say.